Hey friends, it's Nicole Martel. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm sharing how I set up my 6x8 flipbook Christmas album using Simple Stories Hard Candy Christmas collection. I love this collection. It's so pretty, the colors, and it's super fun with all the little candy elements. And here's just a small peek at what you're going to see. To begin, I'm going to go ahead and use my stacking trays to unpackage all the die cuts and embellishments just so that I get myself organized before I start. It just makes the process easier for me. And after a while, everything's just on the desk anyway, and it's a hot mess, but I have good intentions when I start. And then I'm going to be using the Robin's Egg flipbook for the main book here. And you can use any color. You can use pink, you can use teal, yellow, any of those colors will look great with this collection. And then I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'm looking for something to use for the cover. I love this print. It's my absolute favorite, but it's kind of small for the cover. And what I really wanted to do was cover the whole album at the front there. So I decided I'm going to just go ahead, move around some papers to get an idea of what I want to use. I love the candy, so I'm going to go with this and just glue these down on the cover. And I'm gluing it all over, and then I'm going to trim the excess off. And then making sure it's flushed at the top there. Okay, it just keeps myself from having to fussy cut that again around the edges. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the bottom. And then I'm going to make sure it's smoothed out. And then I let it dry for just a few minutes before I cut it. I'm just going to cut around here carefully. And there we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and cover the front with some foam stickers. And I'm just looking for some things to use. I love this. This is so fun. And I'm going to add some holly. And then I have a berry somewhere. I think I'm going to use that too. And then the Christmas tree. And I'm looking for a bow to put at the top there. I know I saw one. I'm just looking. And just looking through to see what I have. And I'm going to glue the chipboard bow at the top there. And then add a decorated brad to the center. And next I'm going to go ahead and pull this ribbon through to tie. I'm not really a big fan of this ribbon, and I'm going to end up coming back here, taking it off and redoing it, and later I'll show you how I did that. But I'm just going to get moving here. And then I'm going to add a sticker on the metal fastener just for fun. And then I do like to decorate the inside of the book. So I'm going to go ahead and add some stickers at the bottom. The gingerbread stickers are so fun. And then I like the Merry vibes. And then I'm looking for another sentiment to put between the two words. And I'm going to pop that up with foam stickers. I'm just cutting them down. And then I'm going to place that right there. Simple and just fun. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut out the journaling cards, the 4x6 journaling cards. I'm going to cut two so they're attached slightly over that, as you can see, the teal strip, because when I go to bend this over, I don't want it to just slide out of the card sleeve. It gives it enough space to sit in there nicely. And then I'm just going to cut out the other one just for the top there. It'll be a photo mat. And then I'm going to decorate the inside here. And my plan is to decorate the top portion, leave the bottom empty so that I can add a photo later. I do plan on adding some Christmas pictures from this year in this album. So that's why you'll see some blank pages, because I do plan on doing that. And then I'm just moving around embellishments to see what works and what doesn't. And I'm carefully placing the presents at different angles. And then the bow is fun. I'm going to glue the bow right there on the present and add a little decorated brad. And that's pretty much it. And then I think I want to use this card, but I'm going to fussy cut it and use it later. And now I'm going to go ahead and mat this paper down. It's so fun. And on the bottom there, just to add something else on there. And then I'll come back and add a photo or two later this year after the holidays. And so then I'm trying to, like, normally what I do like to do is look for elements that are in the foam stickers or chipboard to see if they can lay over this patterns from the card just to add dimension. So that's just a fun idea for you if you're thinking about it. And then this page is fun. I thought I'm going to go ahead and add some dimension to it before I put it back in the album. And the chipboard goes right on there. As I was saying, the chipboard and foam stickers sometimes layer nicely on these pattern papers. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue this foam squares, or I should say foam strips. I'm going to go ahead and pop this up right there. And then the other side here, the excess, I'm going to add right on the bottom there. And then I'm looking to see if I have anything else that I can layer on here. I'm going to go ahead and glue the holly chipboard piece there. And then I'm looking to add some more decorations here. Not that it needs it. And the chipboard candy jar, I just placed it right on top of the candy jar from the paper. And it's just a fun way to add dimension. And then I just had to make sure my embellishments don't fall off before I put them in the page. Alright, and now I'm going to go ahead and look for some other ideas here. I like using the journaling cards. I love this Hard Candy magazine. It's super cute. I'm definitely going to use this. And all I'm going to do is just add some decorated badge just to add a little bit of dimension there. And pop that in there. And now I'm looking to cut the 6x8 paper down to measure 4x6 to use as a match in the 4x6 page pocket. And then I'm just moving around embellishments to try and figure out what I want to do with the top portion, because my thought process is this top is going to be like a title or embellishment clusters, and the bottom is going to be for photos. So I really liked the ornament, but I didn't like how they were looking on this. So in the end, I'm like, I'm just not going to do this right now, and I'll use them for a different layout. But they're fun. I love them. And so now I'm going to go back to the drawing board, figure out what I want to do. I thought maybe the Christmas tree with the Santa, but I think what the issue is for me, the paper doesn't really match. So now I decided I'm just going to go ahead and glue this down because I wanted to use it anyway. And then I'm going to add some decorated badge to the center of the candies just to add dimension, and just call it a day and pop that in there, and that's perfect. And then let's see, I think I'm gonna go ahead and make a flip page now. And what I'm gonna do is cut the 3x4 journaling cards so that they are all attached, all four in a line. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold the left side and the right side towards the center to create the flip. And then I'm going to go ahead and mount that right on the sleeve. Careful so that I can make sure it's straight as well, because once it's down, it's not coming back up. And I use a lot of adhesives because I don't like anything falling out of my albums. Okay, and now I'm just looking for something for the top. I think I like this little red print paper. I'm going to go ahead and add that at the top there. And then I'll put a photo in there later. And now I'm just looking for something else to add to this. And I'm thinking I'm going to add a decorated badge to the hat and the enamel dot to the nose, the pink nose. And I'm going to glue the chipboard here just for fun, just to add something there on that flip page. And then I'm going to go ahead and mount down the chipboard embellishment on there as well using foam strips. Okay, now I'm going to look for some tags. I'm going to cut them out. And I like these, they're fun. I'm just looking for tags that I think I might want to use for this. And I'm going to cut those out. And then I'm going to go ahead and punch a hole in those. Sometimes the white is hard to see. I didn't want to mess up, so I used the other tag to use as a template for the top there. And then I'm going to go ahead and pop this down using foam strips just to add dimension. And I'm going to put that right on the left side. And then I'm going to add some pink ribbon, or it's twine, and cut the excess off. And then I'm looking for something for the bottom there. I'm going to just go ahead and glue this holly down there just to add something. And then an enamel dot there just to add dimension, and it makes it more pretty, I think. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the tree and the Santa to the right side here. And then a photo will go in the center later this year. And then I'm looking for something else to add to Santa. I saw a die cut or a sticker that is the same size as his face. And so I was thinking I could layer it just for fun to make it look like one of those bobber toys, you know what I'm talking about? It's super fun. But so I'm just thinking, and then I decided maybe later I can come back to it. And then I found it, and I found, okay, this is going to work. I'm just going to go ahead and add it on there with a foam sticker. It's just fun, something I like to do. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut some journaling cards out to use for these pocket pages. And I like creating fun little 3x4 cards and decorating them for these sleeves just to make it special. And some I just leave it the way it is, depending on what it is. Like if it's a long sentiment, I kind of leave it alone. But if I have some white space, I like to play with that as well. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and cut this cute gingerbread cup out tag. And then I'm going to add it on here. And I'm going to use foam strips to add dimension. Pop it right on that 3x4 cut card. And then add some string. And this is so cute. And then I'm going to look for a brad to add at the top there. And I'm just looking. And then I'm going to add another one. It just adds a little something there. And then I'm going to add a sticker on the bottom. And that's pretty much it for that. I'm sorry about my dogs. They always do this to me. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut this. And I'm going to tilt it on here just for fun. And then cut the excess off. And pop that here. And then I'm going to look for something to do on the back of this. I love the ornaments. I already mentioned that. And this is a fun way to use it. I'm going to add the ornament on here using foam strips just for dimension. And then I'm going to glue this down as well. But then I'm going to use my ruler to create a line so that it looks like it's hanging from something, because it looks off if you don't do that. And then add a little scribble. And now I'm looking for a sentiment to put under there. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this down here, making sure it's straight. And that's perfect. And I'm going to pop that in the sleeve. And now I'm looking for something else to make here. I'm going to cut this down, pop that on the bottom just to fill that in. That's going to be a mat for a photo. And now I'm going to go ahead and do something with this. I'm going to put the chipboard down using foam strips for dimension. This is super fun with the Santa with the present. And then I'm going to go ahead and take the other present, the chipboard present, cut it down slightly, and I'm going to stack it at the top there. I just love that. It's fun. Alright, and now we're moving along here, and I'm going to cut one of these off here and put this in the page protector after I add a couple of enamel dots for dimension. Just something fun. It doesn't need a whole lot because it's already busy. And then I'm going to add the sentiment using a film strip just to pop it up there. And then I'm going to put this right here, and that's pretty much it. And now I'm going to go ahead and create a flip page. I'm going to cut 2 3x4 cards so that they are attached, fold it in half, and then I'm going to go ahead and add this cute cupcake with the snowman with the film strip to add dimension, and then enamel dots to the gingerbread cheeks, and then I'm going to mount this right on the sleeve, like so. And then I'm just going to go ahead and cut out another tag. And I'm going to go ahead and add this to the right side of that flip page, because then I'm going to come back and add a photo to that other side once I'm finished. I just need to print them out. Alright, so that's done, and then I'm always looking for a decorated brad to put on elements and stuff, but I'm going to just leave that alone because I feel like there's a lot going on already, and it's already kind of hard to flip that with all the thickness of it, so I'm going to leave it. And then add another mat to the bottom for later. And then I really like to use a variety of patterns when I'm working in these books, and I try to use every pattern if I can. So I went ahead and cut the holly page down to 3x4 to add as a pocket page. And now I'm going to go ahead and mount this present journaling spot here right to the center. I'm going to add a decorated brad and the nutcracker. I love that. It's so fun. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut around this card to make sure there's no weird edges. And then I'm looking for embellishments to kind of embellish this pocket page. I'm going to go ahead and mount this down here on the bottom, cut that excess off, and then I'm going to look for something else, and I'm not really sure where this is going. Oh, I love this. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this down with foam strips for dimension, and then cut the excess off if I need to. It's slightly hanging off the edge there. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the 25 sticker at the top there, and then an enamel dot to the reindeer's nose. Super, super cute. And then I'm looking for something else to do here because I never know when to stop. I like the candy cane, but it didn't seem like it was working there, so I just left that alone. And then I'm going to add the bow to the jar with an enamel or decorated brad, and then that's pretty much it for that. Got to cut it down just a little bit to get that in the sleeve. I'm fighting this one to get in there. Come on. There we go. Alright, so now I'm looking to do a flip journaling card insert. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this large tag, and I'm going to fold it slightly at the top there, and then I'm going to mount it to a 3x4 card with adhesive so that I can create the flip. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to add the adhesive strip right across there, and then I'm going to go ahead and carefully place that there so that it's straight and it has a flip. And that will go in the pocket and it will flip. And now I'm going to go ahead and use another ornament. I'm going to add foam strips on the back there to add dimension. And I ran out of foam strips, I gotta find some. And then I need to pop that on there, and then I'm gonna add a line with a little scribble. Okay. And then I was gonna add a decorated brad to the bottom in the middle, but then I decided not to. I'm just gonna leave it alone. And now I'm gonna look for a sticker to put across the top there for a fun title. And that works out perfectly. And then I like this little light stickers, so I'm going to put that on the bottom there. and that will go right in there. And then I'm going to cut this card out to use for one of the pages. It's fun. And then I'm going to layer this flag chipboard piece right on there, and then just leave that alone. And then I got to cut this down a little bit. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead. I like the candy cane tag. I'm going to cut this out to use. And then I'm going to punch a hole in there. And I'm looking for a card to put that on. I'm going to go ahead and cut this red print down to 3x4. And then I'm going to go ahead and mount that right on there. And then I'm just going to add some ribbon or string. You can use ribbon if you prefer. And cut that down and leave it alone and just stick that right in there. And now I think I have one more page left. I love these cards. I'm going to just pop them in there. And then for the back here, I'm going to use the Ho 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 foam stickers. Okay, and then I'm going to cut that down just a little bit smaller than 3x4 so I can add it to the red 3x4 card just for a fun little border. And then I'm going to add a decorated brad to the middle there just for fun. And then I'm just going to glue it just so it stays. Alright, and then pop that in there. And then I like this. I'm going to just add the Santa chipboard there just to fill it in. Alright, and then I thought I'm going to decorate the back of this. I'm going to cut this a little bit down so that it goes on that card like so. And then I'm going to add the sentiment on here. I'm going to glue it right there. And add some decorated brads. Or I decided not to. I'm going to add the chipboard pieces there. It's just super fun. And then I'll come back and add journaling once I have some pictures in the other pages. And this is so cute. I love it so much. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this down just to pop it in the page there for later. And I'll mat another photo on that later. And then I haven't used these, so I'm going to cut this down. These are fun. They're 4x4, I believe. And I cut two so they were mounted together. And then I'm going to create the flip using this. And I'm going to put that right on the page. And then I'm looking to see if I can put anything on here to make it more fun. I'm going to add the holly just to add dimension so it doesn't look too flat. And then I was trying to find a way to use the candy canes, which I do find a way later, and I'll have other videos for 6x8 layouts with instructions on that. But that will be separate. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put this journaling card down, add the decorated brad there that matched the image that was on a tag. And then I'm going to add this here, and this is just to add dimension. And I love the tree chipboard. I'm going to glue that right there. They're adhesive, but I glue it down just to make sure they don't move over time. And then I'm going to cut this out. And my thought process for this is I'm going to later cut a photo in a circle and pop it right in there. So it won't be two journaling cards side by side. It will be a circle photo. And let's go ahead and do a flip through what I have so far. This is so fun to make. I just love it. I hope you're inspired. And then I'm going to go ahead and show what I did. I added the decorated brad and the ribbon. I changed it out because it was bothering me. But I waited till the last minute to do that because I used the brad that I wanted to use in the album. And then the leftovers, I just put it on the cover. But I also had 2 sets of brads because I love those. They're just fun. So here we go. And it's pretty much done. And after the holidays, I'm going to come back and add some photos in there. And I just hope that you took away some fun tricks and techniques from this video. I just like to add a little bit of die cuts and layers to make it pop. And I just love this so much. And I appreciate you watching today. Thank you so much for watching, and take care. And happy holidays. Bye.